You're listening to Bigfoot Society, and I'm Jeremiah Byron. Tonight's story takes us to a forgotten corner of upstate New York, a place few have heard of and even fewer dare to explore after dark. Gilboa, a tiny town tucked into the mountains and a hotspot for things that aren't supposed to exist. It's not the first time that we've heard of this spot, but it's come back once again. It's there, deep in the woods, something massive. It's around the cabins of Gilboa. This isn't a campfire story. It's a first-hand encounter from a man who lived the strangeness of Gilboa. So stay with us. All right, Bigfoot Society, we've got the privilege of talking to Dean today. Dean is an individual I was introduced through the YouTube comments over on the YouTube channel, and he's wanted to come on to share some interesting things that have happened throughout his life related to Bigfoot, and also some other things of high strangeness as well. So he was saying that it was important to get it all on record at this point. So I agree that it's important for individuals to get things out there. And Dean, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Jeremiah. Thank you very much for listening to me, having me on your show here.
Absolutely. You know, Dean, I have a feeling we've got a little bit of ground to cover in this one. So I would say, feel free to take us back, to the beginning when you first started experiencing some things out of the ordinary, and we'll go from there, sir.
Okay. This goes back quite a ways. I lived years ago near the water. My mom was always interested in things of this nature. And we were driving, me, my mom, my older brother. I was only about 5 at the time. And we were in a main area on Long Island. And my mom said, "Look, a UFO." And I looked up, and this huge, huge round disc was flying along this major road, maybe not high at all, a couple 100 feet high, on its side almost, at like a 70-degree angle. And I could see the lights around this thing, square windows it looked like a Ferris wheel, almost on its side. She pulled the car over. I got out. She got out. My older brother wouldn't get out. He was afraid. And I remember watching this thing go right down the road until it was gone. That was the beginning of this stuff. Then, as I got older, I liked going hunting. And I would go with my older brother, and I had shot at a deer, and I hit him right in the neck. He went down, got up, and took off. So I figured, all right, I'm going to wait a few minutes. I'm going to go looking for him. I'm going to let him bleed out. So I tracked him through his blood droppings all the way to this huge pile of blood. No deer. He's gone. I'm looking all over. Can't find this thing any place. No other tracks, nothing. So I continue looking for him. I come out at the top of this hill. There's a field with an apple orchard. So I go down, and there's like I guess you would call it, like a rock wall with a bunch of trees and bushes growing out of it. And then it got to the end where it opened up the field, almost like a round part, like a lollipop shape. So I walk down to that, and I hear something grunting, like a deer, I figured. A big deer. He's right on the other side of this hedgerow. That's what it is, a hedgerow. So this thing starts stomping its feet. And it's like the whole ground is shaking. And I'm like, what the heck? And I was only like 16 at the time with a single shotgun. And I walk around the other side and there's nothing there. And there's no tracks. And now this thing is stomping on the other side where I was standing just a minute ago, snorting and making more grunting noises. Walk around again, nothing there. Then nothing. Thing's gone. So I come out, it's starting to get dark, and I look down into this hollow or a wash, whatever you want to call it. It's sort of like a trail from the mountain that goes down into the woods through the trees. And I see something white moving. I thought it was a man in a white suit or something, because I didn't know anything about any Bigfoot stuff back then. Long story short, I had to walk down that way, back to my room at this lodge I was staying at. And that was the end of that. Then time goes on. I like to go upstate. I like to go hunting. And a lot of people don't like to go with me because I was camping in the woods, and it's, almost the middle of winter. So on my way upstate, I left early morning. It was still dark out. By the time I got up there, it was still dark out, but it was starting to get a little lighter, but it started snowing real heavy. Real heavy. And this huge ball of light came right out in front of my Jeep on the road. And I drove into this ball of light. And I'm thinking maybe it's ball lightning. I don't know, but that's the best thing I could describe it as, like a huge orb. And I drove into this thing. And the whole inside of my car lit up. Everything lit up. And I couldn't see out of the car. And it was almost like time stood still. Couldn't see anything. It was like everything just stopped. And then I guess I went through it. And I'm back on the road, driving down the street still like nothing ever happened. Get there right by the Delaware River. I don't know if you want me to tell you the name of the town. Doesn't really matter to me.
Any details you can provide might be helpful to someone. It's whatever you're comfortable sharing, though.
Okay. It's a little town called Callicoon. There's another little town, a little ways up more, called Long Eddy and Fisher's Eddy. And I drove my Jeep down there to the state land. There's railroad tracks. And I drove my Jeep along the railroad tracks as far as I could, maybe a mile or so. Parked my Jeep, and then I walked with all my gear, my tent, my gun, my food. Walked down maybe another mile and cut into the woods where it's right on the Delaware River. On the other side is Pennsylvania. Right where I cut over, where I knew I wanted to go, was because the water gets lower in the river. And there's something like, I was told it's an eel trap. It's a bunch of rocks that are shaped like a V. And I guess the eels are herded into the funnel, and then they used to catch them. So that's where I knew where to make my turn into the woods. So I go up in the woods, set up my camp, and everything's good. I build a fire, make my dinner, and then it's getting late. I just get everything ready, collect a bunch of firewood, and now it's getting real late. I put enough logs on the fire, I figured, to last a few hours. It was very cold that night. It was only 19 degrees. And I'm in my tent, and it's cold in there. My breath was actually freezing to the inside of the tent. And I was wrapped up pretty good in one of those mummy bags, an army bag. And I guess it's around 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I hear this loud crunching, like it's the railroad rocks. There's a Delaware River, comes straight up the bank, very steep, to the railroad tracks, and then into the woods where I'm camping. From that distance, I could hear those rocks being crunched, one step after the next. Crunch, 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 all the way up, now into the woods, coming towards my tent. I could hear each step very loud. Crunch, 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 right up to my tent. And I got a fire outside, and this thing's not afraid of anything. It starts going around my tent, and I could hear each step around my tent. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it wasn't a bear, because this thing sounded like it was on 2 feet for sure. And it was so heavy that with each step, it actually shook the ground under me. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what this thing is, but I'm not taking any chances. You ever hear that old saying? It's like people don't know you're a fool until you open your mouth and then you prove yourself a fool.
Absolutely.
Well, I was thinking to myself that I'm not going to give whatever this is the upper hand. If I stick my head out of the tent to look and see what it is, this thing's going to know where my head is. So if it's going to get me, it's going to have to take a chance. I'm not sticking my head out to look. Tell you the truth, I didn't want to see whatever it was. So I racked another round into my rifle. It was a bolt action, purposely so that whatever it was would hear that sound. And it heard that sound, and it decided to walk away. Later in the night, I went out to put more wood on my fire, and I could hear like kids laughing in the woods. I'm in the middle of nowhere. It's the middle of winter. There's no kids in these woods. But that's what it sounded like kids laughing. So the next morning I get up, it snowed. Couldn't find any tracks, nothing. There was a foot of snow on me. I got pictures of my campsite and stuff I could show you. And I walked in the back, followed this thing. And I guess it's like a natural funnel for the deer, too, because it goes back and then there's a ridge wall. And the deer have to be like sort of funneled down to where there's like runoff from the river. I guess it's a little swampy there. Maybe it feeds into the river. And I'm thinking to myself, there was no kids back here. So I don't know what was laughing. Funny, I couldn't find any tracks. And now as I get older and I listen to some of these Bigfoot stories, I realize that a lot of people go missing and then it snows and something happens where they can't find anybody and you can't find no tracks. So I'm thinking whatever this thing was, it was out that night knowing what it was looking to do, I think. It was probably looking to hunt something or get me or something, I don't know, but didn't work out that way for it. So I never saw the animal, but I would swear if there's a Bigfoot, that was him. Later on, I ended up purchasing a cabin, and because I got tired of camping in tents and nobody going with me, bought a little cabin up in a town called Gilboa. And I went outside one morning to relieve myself because I don't have a bathroom in there. And something was crunching through the woods right across the street from me. Couldn't have been no more than 40, 50 yards at the most away. And I could hear this thing crunching each step through the woods, but I couldn't see it. And this thing's getting real close, and I don't see nothing. And I just said, I'm not playing this game. I went back inside and just whatever it was, it did whatever it was going to do, and it was gone. That night, something slapped my car outside and left like a greasy, dirty hand print of like the side of the hand and some fingers down the side of my truck. So again, didn't see it, but I don't know what's going on. Then it goes back to the orb type things again.
Dean, I need to jump in for just a minute about
yeah.
So just because this is really interesting. So Gilboa is a small town, right?
Tiniest, second smallest town in New York State.
Okay, wow. So this is very interesting. I had a lady that was on, I would say less than a year ago on the show that actually shared some experiences that happened at her family's cabin in Gilboa, New York.
Oh.
Which is wild. I mean, it was, I believe she had a sighting of 2 Bigfoot that were walking across the field from the cabin window. Some really weird stuff. But what year approximately did your situation happen?
The one in Gilboa?
Yeah.
That was at the most only 4 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was recent, pretty recent. I also saw some broken trees that were broken about 9-10 feet up. And in the middle of the day, I was working in the front of the cabin by the driveway, and a whole top of a tree, of a big tree, cracked and fell down in the driveway, fairly near me. And I'm looking all around. What tree did this come from? There's pine trees. This isn't a pine tree. Where did this thing come from? So I don't know where that thing came from, but it was a good-sized part of a tree that landed in my driveway in the middle of the day. Couldn't find anything that did it. I could hear it cracking and break. A lot of strange things.
Did you happen to take pictures of the handprint on the side of your car at all?
I didn't get pictures of the handprint. I don't know why. I didn't really think about it. I had my son with his girlfriend there, and I didn't want to scare them.
Right.
Because I didn't want them not wanting to come back anymore. So I told them it might have been a bear, because I have seen bears there too. 40 years of hunting, I've never seen a bear until recently. So I don't want to scare my son and his girlfriend from coming up with me.
Oh yeah, that's totally understandable. But man, it's such an interesting story where, this second smallest town in New York, and now we have 2 documented accounts of Bigfoot activity in it. So you were also saying there was some more things that were happening as well?
Yeah, which I do have some videos of and pictures, but it involves those orbs again. It involves orbs and an apparition. I have security cameras in my cabin, and they have night vision. And when my father passed away 3 years ago, and he was 90, and the first orb showed up on my camera, and it was a perfect orb, like the size of maybe a softball. And it wasn't flying around erratic. It was very purposeful. Going by the couch, going up to the camera, going by the door, then back to the couch. I said, Mom, come here, look at this. I said, that's Dad. I said, that's Pops. She was very interested in that. A year later, my mom had a stroke. She ended up passing away. Guess who shows up on the camera? 2 orbs. Same thing. Sitting on the couch. Moving around, looking by the windows. I'm like, that's them. They're letting me know that I was right about this. I also had dreams when my mom passed away. In my dreams, I visited her. And she asked me what I'm doing there. And I just said that I came to see her. And had another dream where they were doing a little better on my next visit. And I just believe these things. And I have the very good videos of that I took and saved. And then I had an apparition. This is one thing I have a little problem talking about because I shouldn't really involve people, but something very bad happened in my family a few years ago where somebody was killed. And when I was sleeping one night, it's very dark up there. So I had what they call a motive candle, I think they call it, those little motive candles. They're very small. Are you there?
Yes, that is I believe your motive candles, I believe. Or is it
motif?
motif? I
Those
don't
candles.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I know what you're talking
I don't
about,
like
though.
sleeping. Yeah, I don't like sleeping when it's total pitch black.
Mm.
So I put the little candle into the sink, and it gave off barely any light, just very, very little bit of light. Well, I woke up at around 3 a.m. The whole room was red, dark red, like blood red. I thought it was fire trucks outside. So I look and I see this guy standing there. Couldn't see the face, though. He was wearing a hoodie jacket. And he walked right between me and my son, opened up the door, and went outside. So, another thing that happened with the Bigfoot thing. After that thing left, I got so tired that I just fell asleep. Well, when this happened, I also got very tired, except this time I said, I'm not going to fall asleep because I'm not going to fall asleep and then wake up thinking that maybe this was a dream. So I sat up and I waited to see whoever it was would come back. Now the sun comes up. My son's sleeping over there. I said, Nick, you awake? Yeah, I'm up. I said, you weren't walking around here last night, right? No. He goes, I can't. He goes, Dad, look at the wood on the floor between us. If anybody walked through here, they would have tripped on it. I said, you know something, you're right. So whoever that was walked right through there without tripping on nothing, which I think was the family member that got killed. Looked like him, body stature of him, same jacket he always wore. Except I couldn't see the face, and I'm glad I didn't, because that would have freaked me out. Then one morning there was another orb thing, except this one was square, and it was flashing. And it looked to me like it was looking for something. And I'm thinking in my mind, this thing's looking for those other orbs. They're looking for my parents, this thing. And this thing even stayed in the daylight because you could see from the windows that the sun came up. It was light outside. This thing was still around. I'll show you videos of that too, if you want. And that was about it for up there. There was something else happened, but I'm drawing a blank right now. Oh, also on Long Island, a friend of mine said, what was that? We were sitting down at the beach by the water. You can see Connecticut. And it looked like a rocket with like a tail of fire behind it. But it was very low, very low. So I don't know what that is, but it was coming from the north, heading south, and then it turned and went east. Well, the next day it was in the newspaper, something seen in the skies over Long Island. It said state troopers in Vermont spotted it in Vermont first. They said it was heading south. And then they said it was a meteorite. And I'm thinking, meteorites? How do meteorites change direction? This thing was going from north to south, and then it turned and went east. I don't think meteorites change direction. That was another strange thing.
What approximate year was that?
That was back in the late 80s,
Okay.
early 90s.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The Gilboa cabin is very interesting because you're having Bigfoot activity, but then you're also having apparitions, other really weird things. Do you know any of the history of the cabin? Previous owner, was there weird stuff that happened to that cabin before you guys got it?
The cabin isn't really that old. I bought it from a woman that worked for the state, and she never mentioned anything. And I did mention something about Bigfoot to one of the guys that I met up there that used to work for this woman. He said that Bigfoot was spotted in a place called Whitehall, New York.
Yep.
I don't really know much about that, but then he tried to say that, it was probably a bear that I saw. He tried to make all this thing up about how bears walk on 2 feet. And I said, the handprint might have been a bear slapping the car, but that thing that walked up the train tracks or that was walking across the street, that thing was on 2 feet for way too long. It was completely always on 2 feet. There was no time where that thing was on 4. So I can't, and the weight of it. I mean, black bears are not that big. Whatever this thing was heavy. I'm on a mountain. How does the ground shake underneath you? The ground was actually shaking. Like Jello almost.
Wow.
Yeah. I've never seen anything else like that. I had another thing happen with Apparition one time, but it's even so far out that it's even unbelievable to me.
Okay.
But that happened again on Long Island. All this weird stuff happened ever since that stupid spaceship when I was like 5 years old. That's the way I think of it. Ever since and going through that ball of light. When I drove through that ball of light, it was like my whole life changed. And if there's something weird out there, I'm going to see it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But the funny thing is, I don't have a real fear.
Yeah.
I wasn't afraid of the apparition thing. I'm definitely not afraid of orbs. The Bigfoot thing, that scared me to the point where I'm not going to just go surrendering myself to something. I wasn't going to stick my head out of that thing and let this thing know where my vulnerable points are. I felt if whatever that was, if it's going to do something, it's going to have to take a chance. I don't want to commit so.
You had said there was something else weird that had happened on Long Island.
Yeah. I'm divorced, and I used to have to pick my kids up for my visitation and then bring them home at night. I would take this little tiny road. It's off of a hill called Mount Misery. And they used to call it Mount Misery because the wagon trains didn't like climbing this hill. It was, I guess, miserable for them. But there's also a lot of stories about ghosts on this road. And there's a few graveyards on this road. And I dropped my kids off and started to take that way back home because it's a shortcut. There's no lights or anything. It's a very small road. If another car comes, you got to move over or pull over and let it pass. So I'm on this little road, and there's a police car with one officer standing outside. And he's directing me up into the graveyard, and it's nighttime, and the gate's open. And I'm like, this is weird. He's directing me, pointing, go up there. Drive into the graveyard, drive up to the top of the hill. Back then, I had a digital camera that you plug into a computer. I took my camera out. I said, anybody want their picture taken? Took a picture out the driver's side window, took a picture out the passenger side window. Then I felt, maybe it's time for me to get out of here. Drive back down, gate still open, no cop, no police car. Oh, and it was a fire truck, too. No fire truck, no cop car, no police, no nothing. I go home, plug the camera into the computer. Beautiful orb comes up, sitting right on a folding chair that somebody left there in the graveyard. Then I'm thinking later on, I don't think that cop was real. And where were the firemen? There was a fire truck with no firemen. Why would he lead me into the graveyard and then be gone 5 minutes later when I come out? There's nobody there and he's going to leave me there? And another night later on, about a year later, I'm driving down there and I see a cop walking through the graveyard on the graves, not on the path, on between the gravestones walking. So I don't know what's going on with that. And that's like one of the more embarrassing things that I don't expect anybody to believe. But that's what happened. So I don't know if I seeing these things or losing my mind or what.
That's some really interesting stuff. I mean, it's definitely far out of my wheelhouse, but it is interesting to see how, I mean, you're right. You had that experience at age 5. Something lit up the car after you guys drove through it, and then the rest of your life has just been absolutely bonkers over the years. It's just really, really weird stuff.
Always. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to get this off my chest a little. Because this is stuff that I don't tell everybody. But like I said, my health hasn't been the greatest in quite a few years now. And a lot of my friends have passed on. And I just wanted to get this out there. And that's about it, really.
I'm glad you shared it with us. Thank you for trusting me enough to share it.
I had no fear back then. I was very young.
Yeah.
Curious. Always listen. I was very close with my mother. Very close. And my mother was one of those people that if somebody would die, like far away, she would know it. She would know it. She had visits from dead relatives. So maybe there's something. And I also listened to those missing 911 with...
the missing 411 things with David
what's the
Pilates.
guy's name? I'm sorry, I said 911.
You're
That's
good.
the emergency number on Long Island.
David Pilates.
Yeah, Pilates.
Yeah.
He also mentioned that a lot of these missing people are German. My mom was German. So I'm just saying, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but Pilates says that a lot of these people that go missing are German. And I'm wondering if there's some connection with that too.
It
just
is
a little food for thought.
It's one of those weird connections for sure. Do you still plan to keep on going up to the cabin in Gilboa?
Oh, yeah, I love it there. I don't want to come home. When I go up there, I don't want to come back. If I could disappear up there, if that would be the end of me, to just vanish, I would be perfectly fine with it. My son goes, Dad, you don't want to do that. You don't know what these aliens and stuff would do to you. I said, to tell you the truth, I'm not afraid. I have no fear. So, yeah, I can't wait to go back up.
But I hope that doesn't happen to you, but I hope you do have a good experience next time that you go up to the cabin in Gilboa. And if things do continue to happen that are out of the ordinary, definitely, reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out and let us know what's going on. I think that's pretty cool that, you're the second person now to share about weird things going on in Gilboa, New York.
Yeah, and it's not like I get up there a lot. So for the few times I've been up there, that is a good amount of weird stuff to happen. I did spend like 4 days by myself up there. No problems. Nothing happened. So it's not something that goes on all the time. But if it does, yeah, I definitely let you know. Maybe I'll try to send you some of the videos you could check out of those orbs that are really cool. These things are not little. They're very, very bright, very right in your face, undeniable. Very interesting to look at. The thing that happened along the Delaware River with my camping there, that was also very, Pennsylvania is very big, and it was right across the river. And if that was an eel trap, this thing might have been coming through that way because the water's low. He could pick up some fish on the way, and it seemed like a natural funnel for deers. So you got Delaware River, Cooperstown. That's where I saw the thing in the app. Didn't see it, but it was grunting at me. That was in the apple field up in Cooperstown. And then Gilboa. So these things are all over the place.
Oh, absolutely. And I would love to, if you're able to send any of those videos or pictures over, I'd definitely love to see those. And would that be a thing where you'd be okay if I could put those in the YouTube version of the interview if you're able to send them over?
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
Cool.
And the reason that I draw a connection to these things is because of the fact that I can never see these Bigfoots. I'm thinking that these orb things are probably interdimensional. And maybe that has something to do with the Bigfoot, that maybe he's interdimensional. And if I can see like these orb things and have contact with these other things, maybe it's all having to do with the same thing. That there's like the veil, they called it the veil, is very thin between us and them, I guess. I don't know. I'm always thinking,
absolutely. Yeah.
That there is some connection, because other people too have said like they've seen these orbs and then Bigfoot stuff. And I'm just wondering, and that square one that I was telling you about, that thing looked like it was hunting. So maybe that was the Bigfoot one. Maybe Bigfoot can turn into an orb. I don't know. But I've never seen that square one before.
It's a very unique account for sure. Sometimes I hear orb related things on my show, and I don't think I've heard one that comes close to that, but sometimes you hear, Bigfoot controlling orbs or turning into orbs, or you have a Bigfoot there and then later on you have an orb there, and there just seems to be some kind of connection there. And you hear that all over the U.S., not just in a certain area. So it's always very interesting to hear reports like that. But, Dean, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. I want to make sure that you were able to share everything that you had wanted to come on and talk about tonight.
Um, I guess since I brought you this far, there are two other things, but they're not really Bigfoot, I don't think, but
Okay.
they have to do with, again, with like ghost type things. One of them would be a clubhouse that we built in the woods when I was a kid, and something was jumping on the roof of it so hard I thought the whole thing was going to collapse on us. And when we went outside, there was nothing there. And then again, when I was a kid, I used to walk the railroad tracks to go looking like in the woods for old bottles. I found places that were old dumps for back in the 1800s, and I would dig up bottles and all kinds of weird stuff I'd find. And these rich people lived up there, and a lot of them had dogs, like big dogs, like German Shepherds and stuff. So I would bring my pellet gun with me just in case. And I was on this hill, and I could hear something coming. I thought, it's probably one of those dogs. So I took my pellet gun out, and I could hear this thing getting closer and closer. And now I can see the tall grass bending. I could see the branches up high being moved out of the way. Whatever this thing was, it walked right up to me and stopped. I couldn't see nothing, though, of what it was. I thought in my mind, I stumbled in the wrong place. This is probably has to do with an Indian on a horse. This is an Indian on a horse, and I'm in a place I shouldn't be. So I said, I'm sorry, and I'm leaving, and I won't come back again. And I left. And to this day, I think that was an Indian on a horse, maybe guarding a graveyard or something. I was someplace I wasn't supposed to be. So that's everything there.
That's absolutely wild. I mean, just the fact that things were moving and you couldn't see whatever was moving the grass and the branches. Very, very interesting, because you do hear reports like that that could be attributed to Bigfoot in a cloaking type way, but it sounds like you have a very strong leaning towards that was a Native American on a horse. So that's very, very interesting.
Yeah, that's my gut feeling, because there was a lot of Indians in that area. Back in the day, there was a lot of Dutch settlers. A friend of mine found pieces of Dutch pipes where they used to break the stem off. Found little pieces of stem, found a bowl, found deer teeth, found Indian beads. Then we had a lot of Revolutionary War era stuff there, a lot of British soldiers on Long Island. And another friend of mine found a lot of stuff from them. So there's a lot of history here. And how things work and with vibrations and all that stuff. I don't know. I just thought that it's something I wanted to get out there, just because I don't know how long I'm going to be around. And like I said, it's not something I've told everybody, but I do like your channel. I listen to it all the time. And it's very interesting to compare my things with some of these other people's sightings and what have you.
Well,
so I thought I'd just put it out there.
Dean, I'm glad you were able to come on and throw it all out there. And I wish you had, many future years of going up to the cabin in Gilboa and having a good time. Maybe a little bit of weird stuff, maybe not too much, but having a good time. The same. So thank you for coming on the show tonight.
That. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, sir.
And you have a good night. And like I said, I'll send you some of those videos if you want.
Fantastic. Well, and be in touch if anything else happens, and we'll be talking to you later, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye.
You got it, Dean. Just want to take a minute to say thank you for listening to this episode of the Bigfoot Society podcast. Dean's story reminds us that sometimes when the unexplained finds you once, it keeps finding you. So huge thanks to Dean for sharing such deeply personal experiences from the snowy woods near the Delaware River to the strange nights at his cabin in Gilboa. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe to us on YouTube, hit the bell icon so you don't miss any new episodes, and share this one with a friend who's into Bigfoot, high strangeness, or the mysteries hiding in the woods. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you're following the show. And if you'd be willing to leave a review, it really helps more folks find us. Now, if you or someone you know has had a Bigfoot encounter, especially in New York, Vermont, or Pennsylvania, I'd love to hear from you. So please shoot me an email at bigfootsociety@gmail.com and let's talk about it. And also, don't forget, Sasquatch Summerfest is coming up July 11th through the 12th at Green Waters Park in Oak Ridge, Oregon. And Bigfoot Society listeners can grab a 2-day pass for the price of a 1-day admission with code BFS at checkout. Tickets are available now at www.sasquatchsummerfest.com. Thanks again for being part of the Bigfoot Society, and until next time, keep your eyes open, trust your gut, and remember, sometimes the forest is watching back. So see you in the woods.